Welcome back to the Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I tell you, one of my favorite things to talk about here is about what's happening in the real estate front. Houston is doing extraordinarily well, and there's few people I can enjoy talking to more. To my friend Brian Spitz, who's with Big State Home Buyers. That's BigStateHomeBuyers.com. Great entrepreneur and a great friend to this program. Always good to see you, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Why don't you real quickly give your elevator speech and then your website, the one you wanted to go to, and then introduce our guest today, who is also a good friend of mine.
Sure. Again, my name is Brian Spitz. I'm the owner of Big State Home Buyers, and we're a full-service real estate investment company. We buy properties from people who want to sell them quickly, properties that are in distress, or just from sellers that want to sell without using an agent, lots of inherited properties. So we buy those quickly, we pay cash for them, we solve any title problems, and then we also sell properties to real estate investors to help grow their real estate portfolios and advise them as well.
You know, you people ought to wear capes, like Cape Crusaders, because you have really rescued some people from some frightening circumstances.
Yeah, we've closed upwards of 700 properties in the course of our business, so we've worked with a lot of sellers.
Introduce your guests.
Sure. Today we have Jim Noteware on the show, and Jim was the previous Houston Housing Community Development Director, and he was also a real estate investor. So wanted to get his perspective today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kevin. It's a delight to be here with you.
Yeah, Jim's a great entrepreneur. Not only is he a business entrepreneur, I consider him something of a political entrepreneur because he's got great insight on what's happening on the political front, which frankly is so lacking among political leaders today. Always hope to see you do something with that insight and knowledge, Jim.
Thank you, Kevin.
It's a pressure there.
Why don't you kind of go ahead and start off by giving us an overview of what your role was when you did work for the city?
Yes, Mayor Parker, shortly after she was elected, asked me to come in from the private sector to take some leadership in the public sector. The city's Housing and Community Development Department receives about 95% of its funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and over the years had frankly been in trouble, been out of compliance with a lot of the federal grants, and was widely viewed as being ineffective over the long term. And so she asked me to come in, and this was in early 2010, to do four things. One is make the department function again. Two is get back into compliance with HUD. Number three, look at what we're doing, our mission, who we're doing business with, and try to improve things all the way around and spread where we were working throughout the city. And fourth, broaden our mission into community development. Don't just look at housing. Look at all the things that affect quality of life, particularly in underserved neighborhoods. And forefront of that was jobs. Mm-hmm. What can we do to bring jobs to the inner city? What community development problem or issue or family issue wouldn't be solved a lot better if more people earned more money and had better jobs?
Brian?
Well, that's a really interesting role. So you had that in. I've read about your biography, and it states that you really turned that office around within about 6 months. Wanted to hear a little bit about how you did that.
We did several things. First, we dramatically revised our personnel.
Right.
A lot of people left, and some new people joined. But just as important, we assigned people to where the important priorities are. And at the time were. The second thing we did was we started measuring things, and we measured how effective that we are on certain things, and we went back to HUD and we said, you provide the money, you are our largest investor, what would you like to see? And they said the first thing is get in compliance with our programs, and the second thing is measure your results. So one of the things I'm most proud of is that in the 22 months I was with the city, in about 18 of those 22 months, we produced rehabilitated multifamily properties. We brought online, we financed, underwrote, and brought online 1,955 units.
Wow.
During that period of time. We used federal money, most of it Hurricane Ike, disaster recovery money, but we were able to engage the private sector and basically create public-private partnerships. Technically, they weren't partnerships; they were junior mortgage financing loans where the private developers put the first capital in, but we encouraged them by providing attractive terms. And they came into dilapidated projects that had heretofore been vacant, turned them around, and we created Class B plus, A minus units at affordable rents in neighborhoods that really needed them. So we've housed 1,955 people or families that otherwise wouldn't. Plus, we set in motion a cascading positive momentum in those neighborhoods. One of them that I'm most proud of is the Antoine DeSoto corridor. We did about 800 units in 3 projects right in the core of the Antoine DeSoto problem.
What kind of financial impact was the city having not being in compliance with HUD? I'm assuming they were losing federal support as a result of that.
Yeah, it was several dimensions, Kevin. It's a very, very, very good question. The first one was we were stalled in getting new federal money until we cleaned up the old. But secondly, and probably most dangerous, is if we were to have maintained our out-of-compliance status, the city would have had to pay back HUD much of the money that it had been advanced in these grant programs, because HUD is an investor like anyone else. You put money out, you expect to get results. When the results aren't there, you're not happy and you want your money back.
Right.
And there is no way that in the city's precarious financial position that it's in could ever pay that money back. And HUD was very close to, frankly, throwing the city out and exercising its rights in receivership.
Wow.
So it was a very serious situation, and I'm very proud of not only how our department turned it around, but what my successors are accomplishing as well.
Very good. Brian?
Well, I mean, we're real estate investors, and we're out in the field all the time looking. And I mean, I know every neighborhood in the city, I can safely say. And so I know neighborhoods that really needed revitalization, and I can name quite a few that still need it.
Right.
Right. But overall, the market in the city has been appreciating exponentially in the last 6-9 months, almost a little too much for my comfort level. But I wanted to get an idea of what you think about what's happening in the current market here.
I think Houston is a tale of two cities right now. Shortly after I accepted the position in Mayor Parker's administration, my old friend Peter Brown, who is a former city councilman and former mayoral candidate, came to see me and he said, "Just remember this, Jim, only 1/3 of the city is sustainable." And I said, "Peter, tell me what that means." And he said, "It's very simple. Only 1/3 of the land area of the city of Houston generates enough in property and sales taxes to pay the cost of servicing that area." And I said, "Does that mean that 2/3 don't?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Does that mean that the top 1/3 fiscally support the bottom 2/3? Yes."
Wow.
And so what we really have to do, and the city is in terrible financial condition today. The city is not paying all its bills, and that is gradually becoming common knowledge. It is not yet common knowledge throughout the city, but one of the biggest impediments is the deteriorating tax base in that 2/3 of the city area. When we talk about appreciating markets, that is true, but that is in the area where we sit.
Right.
Okay. The areas downtown, west, Galleria, all the way out. But the growth of Houston is west, and then it leapfrogs to north to the Woodlands, to Pearland in the south, to Sugarland, and to Katy. But the eastern part of the city isn't really participating to a large degree in this renaissance.
And it's amazing, too, because some of those areas are, right outside the Houston Heights, or right inside the Loop, or right outside the Loop, next to where there were Six Flags used to be. I assume some of those areas are what you're talking about.
Yes.
So they should be prime real estate.
They should be prime real
Interesting
estate.
that they haven't turned around, and doesn't look like they're going to tomorrow.
I think the city would love to have Six Flags back there, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah,
it's this empty land. It's like, this is what's the saying, that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered.
Yeah.
The reason why Six Flags disappeared is because the tax rate was becoming too prohibitive. Look how much money the city makes now. It's really quite ludicrous.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thanks to both of you. Great interview, great information. James Noteware, his company, again, you can learn more about him at notewaredevelopment.com. That's Noteware, NOTEWARE development.com. And, of course, Brian Spitz, he's with BigStateHomeBuyers.com. And when you're there, make sure you check that investments link. And he's just begun recently doing some great podcasts that are officially aligned with the program, and we're looking forward to hearing those as well.
Yep, they'll be launching next month.
All right. When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter.